Today, I'm going to show you guys how to one-shot your opponents with Dorbickmon, the King of Dragons. Digimon fans, welcome back, and today we'll be unleashing the full power of the Dorbickmon deck. Dorbickmon is a super underrated boss Digimon that came out from the EX3 set, but this card has gained some popularity where it can swing face into all your opponent's security by combining the power of all existing Dragon and Dinosaur cards together. The idea is to bring out Dorbickmon through Digi crossing 5 different Dragons and Dinosaurs with inheritables to give it security +1. And then rush down your opponents instantly to win their games. Now, I have been getting a lot of requests from you guys wanting to see a deck profile of me covering the 4 Great Dragons deck. Well, guess what? That is exactly what I'm working on right now, and if you guys can't wait to see that video or even more Digimon videos upcoming, then be sure to subscribe and turn on that notification bell right now. Also, give this video a like because it just really helps, and I really appreciate the support from all of you. But let's get right into the deck profile right now. Okay, so for the Digi Egg cards, we got 4 copies of Digimon, and we simply run this egg with the 4 copies. Is really all we need, is really because we play it alongside with our Gilmon package. We got 4 copies of the promo Gilmon, and as well as 3 copies of the Gilmon X antibody. So simply because they have Gilmon in their names, so then the promo Gilmon lets us draw 1 when attacking alongside with Digimon. We get to draw another card as well, so we get to draw 2, and draw power is really crucial. Gilmon X antibody is also just very similar. You just want to have more Gilmon, but sometimes you can Digivolve it on top of Gilmon, so then you can actually delete something that's 3000 DP or less as well. But also helps very nicely with its inheritable, where adding 1000 DP to the maximum DP of your deletion effects does come in real handy, and it does synergize with your Dorbickmon later on as well. So that's it for basically our Gilmon and Digimon rookie egg lineup, and that is it. So let's move into our level 4s. We got 4 copies of Cordramon. Cordramon drawing 2 is just super important for this deck. Really great card. And once again, you guys can see, draw power is definitely your #1 priority to gather all the pieces you need. Then we have my favorite, security +1 Greymon. This guy is just really good simply because for its inheritable, security +1 with no conditions met is definitely really good. Now, there's a reason why we don't play a full maximum 4 copies of this, and there's actually a whole very good reason, is because Dorbickmon requires you to have multiple copies of different names for its digicrossing, which I'll get into more in detail later, but which is why the ratios may seem a bit off at the beginning. Next, we have 2 other Greymons from BT1, bringing back the one all the way from the very first set. Very simple and inheritable. Your turn, extra 2000 DP. We sometimes need that power to make sure we can swing over stuff, and it's very important as well. Then we have 1 Flareezamon right here. Very simple as well. Draw power when we're attacking. If this Digimon has a Dragon Sword or Ceratopsian in one of its traits, it basically gets to do that, and just 1 copy is really all we need for this guy. And then last but not least, we have 1 Burning Greymon. This guy is actually a dragon, Dark Dragon, which means it actually synergizes with this deck very nicely. Also a very good hybrid for game. Sometimes that we come in real handy, really great to have, but 1 copy is really all we need to here. That's it for level 4s. Let's talk about level 5s. More aggression, more security +1s. We have Master Tyrannomon. We mainly play him for his inheritable, once again, because all of our Digimon with Tyranno in their names gain extra security +1. Doesn't really matter too much, but yes, we really just want its inheritable. More security +1s. 2 copies of Voltramon, exactly just like our Greymon, gives us security +1 with no conditions met, and Master Tyrannomon as well. Then we got 2 copies of Jazzerichmon. Jazzerichmon also gives security +1, which is why it's really good for this deck. However, though, it does have a requirement. While this Digimon has a on-play effect, which Dorbickmon does, will give that security +1, which is really good. And then it also has its own on-play effect, which actually sometimes come up because it lets you de-Digivolve one of your opponent's Digimon. And then you get to play Hina afterwards. We don't play Hina in this deck, so we don't really get to utilize its full value, but sometimes you might want to de-Digivolve. It can come in handy. And speaking of which, we have its partner. We got 3 copies of the Avault as well. Sometimes we can on-play it to delete something with 5,000 DP or less. We don't get to play the Hina, but all turns once per turn when an opponent's Digimon is deleted, if this Digimon has an on-play effect, you get to gain a memory back, which is really, really good as well. And then, last but not least, for the level 5s, we actually got 2 copies of Majiramon right here. When attacking once per turn, if your opponent has no Digimon with Digivolution sources in play, unsuspend this Digimon. This effect also counts towards for if your opponent has absolutely no Digimon on their board as well. So then you can actually unsuspend and have your Dorbickmon swing Tice, which makes it very, very strong. And of course, it does have a when Digivolving effect, which we sometimes get to Digivolve on top of a Quadramon to utilize it, but really don't really need it that much anyways. That's it for all of our level 5s. Let's talk about our level 6s. And actually, our one and only level 6 here in the deck is the 4 copies of Dorbickmon. Now, we're going to talk a lot about this guy because first and foremost, he has Rush. On play, you delete one of your opponent's Digimon with 3,000 DP or less, but you really want to mainly be Digi-crossing this with 5 Digimon cards with different names, keep in mind, that has Dragon in its traits, or as a Soar or a Ceratopsian in their traits. Keep in mind there is a bit of an errata or like an update text for this card, particularly because it says Dragon. Dragon includes a lot of other dragons. It includes Dark Dragon, Dragonkin, for example, 4 Great Dragons, whatever, Holy Dragon. Any dragon you can come up with all the different traits there is in the Digimon card pool is eligible for its Digicross requirements. Now, essentially, by Digicrossing with 5 sources, you make this guy effectively a 3 play cost with Rush. And then like I mentioned earlier, on play, you get to delete one of your opponent's Digimon with 3,000 DP or less, but for every Digivolution cards and the sources with Dragon and all those other traits with the errata together, you get to increase it by 2,000. So if you have 5 sources, you can actually delete one of your opponent's Digimon with 13,000 DP, which is really, really good. And this is why the Guilmon X antibody actually even bumps it further to 14,000 DP. And the other really important note is with this Digicrossing, like I mentioned, you need a Digicross with 5 Digimon with different names. This is why the ratios, we try not to maximize too much at 4. We'll try to juggle between 2 and 3 because you actually need more of a variety and consistency to actually let you bring this guy out. So Dorbickmon himself, he is your boss Digimon. He is your main go-to. He is your win condition of this deck. And you want to be seeing him as soon as possible, which is why we have a lot of draw power in the deck too. Then to round up for all of our Digimon with level 7s, we have 2 copies of the Blitz Omnimon right here. Really great because we can Digivolve it on top of our Dorbickmon to unsuspend and then go for Blitz. Now, really important to keep in mind that if we play our Dorbickmon the same turn, and then we Digivolve Omnimon Blitz on the same turn, we actually don't get to use its Blitz ability to attack again. Very, very important is because Dorbickmon itself has Rush, and it doesn't give the Digimon like a buff for the turn of gaining the Rush, meaning that the Omnimon will actually be under the influence of Summoning Sickness. So really important, and keep in mind when actually playing this card. So this Omnimon is actually quite decent. It actually gives you a little bit of like sort of a protection so you can unsuspend it, and then you have a really strong Omnimon in the next turn, or otherwise you can wait for a turn, have your Dorbickmon survive on the board, and in the next turn you can then do double swing with the Omnimon and the Dorbickmon combo, which would be really, really good to finish off your opponents. That's it for all of our Digimon. Let's talk about our Tamers. Our one and only Tamer is the 3 copies of Hero. Hero is our memory Tamer, which is super crucial to set our memory at 3 so that we can actually do our Dorbickmon combos in place, which I'll talk about more and showcase you guys later, but also giving it extra DP to buff up Dorbickmon so it can actually safely swing into security and make it even stronger so that it wouldn't be deleted by security battle, which is really important. And once again, 3 copies is all you need. That's it for our Tamers. Let's talk about options. We got 3 copies of Fireball right here. Delete one of our opponent's Digimon with 3,000 DP or less. If we can't, we get to draw 2. We mainly want to be utilizing its secondary effect of being able to draw 2 instead, because once again, really, really important, draw power to find your pieces. And some of you guys would argue and bump this card up to 4, which I totally agree. However, deck space is kind of tight, and 3 has worked out quite well for me overall anyways, with the amount of draw power effects I have. And more draw power mentioning, we got Hero of Dragons. Hero of Dragons does the exact same thing, draw 2, and then if you have a Digimon with Greymon, Dramon, and its name, then you get to delete one of your opponent's Digimon with 4,000 DP or less. Also really, really good. And yeah, 2 is great here too. Then we got 2 copies of Red Memory Boost, searching, finding our Dorbickmon as soon as possible, finding our key pieces. We mainly play red in this deck anyways. We have a red base We have a red Digi-Egg base with Guilmons and everything, and mostly, 90% of this deck is really red anyway, so red memory boost works out very greatly. Then we got some removal options. Crimson Blaze, just still a really good card in this current format. Pop out Y boards, stop our opponent from spawning, stopping our opponents from swarming the board. This is just always a very nice defensive card to have in the current meta. And then one Gaia Force, just a very clutch moment, sometimes being able to pop anything. Gaia Force is simply that we all know one of the best removal cards because it's simple, delete anything you want, just still really, really good. And then last but not least, we got one Tech Spice right here. I want to run one ADP. ADP is just super good, really good against certain matchups. Since you're going for OTK combo sometimes, taking out your opponent's security, you have the power and everything, but it just takes one option in the security to ruin your day, and this is why having the one ADP is very nice against certain matchups to stop any of that, to give you the 100% win rate right there, which is always very good. So yeah. Alright, that is it for our 50 card main deck. Now we got some other really cool tech choices and tech cards that you can also include, or different options when it comes to Digimon to be putting into this deck, and there's actually a lot because I've done my research and looked through a whole bunch of different dragons, dinosaurs, and ceratopsians, and these are some of my personal good recommendations that you can actually have. So the first card I want to talk about is this Growlmon from the Gallantmon starter deck. Very similar to Levelgiratimon, where you can gain a memory back. However, this is strictly during your turn and once per turn only as well. So, but yeah, definitely a good addition because it is a dark dragon. Then we got Dinohumon. Dinohumon is kind of like another DP buffer type of Digimon because when attacking, one of your opponent's Digimon gets minus 1000 DP for the turn. 1000 is not a whole lot, but it can come in handy in certain matchups when you need to swing over things with Dorbickmon if you need to do so. However, my game plan is really more about swinging into security, therefore I prioritize buffing up your Dorbickmon with extra DP rather than minusing DP instead. Then we have another Voltramon right here, the Voltramon from EX3. This one is when attacking once per turn. If this Digimon has Dragon, Sword, or Ceratopsian, you get to draw one card, very similar to Flarizamon. However, we don't really need it because once we get our Dorbickmon out, we don't need to draw power as much anymore because our draw power focus should really be in the early game. But however, definitely another decent card to include as well. Then we got Crisp Paildramon right here. Crisp Paildramon actually is one of the cards that I actually really consider. And this is because it actually has a different name, first of all. And it also gives you security +1, but under the condition that your opponent has no Digimon with sources in play. And this doesn't really happen all the time, which is why, I can see why most players don't really include it, and I personally don't feel like it's necessary either. Then we actually got one other level 6 you can actually include. We got Wargreymon right here. Very simple is because he actually provides an inheritable, which can be beneficial to your Dorbickmon. It does have a when digivolving effect because when you digivolve it and you have a Greymon and its name and its traits and its sources, you get to delete one of your opponent's Digimon with blocker, which can come in handy. It's only 3 cost to digivolve. Sometimes you might be building a stack, but otherwise you can actually give it another extra inheritable of when attacking, deleting one of your opponent's Digimon with 3000 DP or less, synergizing with your Dorbickmon as well, which is kind of quite a neat tech, really. Last but not least, you can actually play a different kind of Omnimon instead of the Blitz Omni. So what you can actually be doing is that after you're doing your combo with Dorbickmon and swing into security, you can pass your opponent to 6 by digivolving on top of it. And since anyways you can't swing in again in most cases with the Blitz Omnimon, might as well utilize Merciful Mode to control the board even more. Because when digivolving, for each card with Mega and its traits in this Digimon sources, you get to delete one of your opponent's Digimon and then also place 10 cards from your opponent's trash at the bottom of the deck in any order. So in certain matchups, this card counters them really, really hard, such as D-Brigade Commandramon, Purple decks, any decks that sort of really utilize the trash a lot. Just really, really good against those decks, really, generally. Also, not to mention, if you're able to keep your Omnimon Merciful Mode survived until the start of your next turn, you can trash it so that you can trash one of your opponent's top security stack, which can come in handy as well sometimes, which does benefit a little bit. But yeah, really cool tech spice that I could also suggest right here. Okay, now that we got the deck profile and all the cards talked about completed, let's show you guys the very simple how to play guide and combo of this deck. So, of course, you're going to be hatching your Digimon egg all the time, and what you want to be doing in the early stage of the game is to draw as much as you can. Draw power is extremely crucial because you need to first find your Dorbickmon as well as all these different Dragon and Dinosaur related cards for the deck so that you can place it for its Digi Xros requirements right there. So of course, once again, digivolving into your Guilmon, ideally the promo one would be the best. you know, at the same time, you know, when you can move it up and you can actually just start swinging aggressively, because really all you need to do is draw cards from it. That's what you want to do with this card in general. You want to draw more cards, and you can even chip your opponent away to set yourself up for, I guess, potentially the OTK and a one shot, one hit combo later on. Play your fireballs to draw more, play your hero dragons to draw more, use your red memory boost to search for more as well, and then as soon as you can, establishing hero is always the best too. So meanwhile, while you're doing it, you want to find these pieces, all these different kind of inheritables, and then you also want to be hard playing your Cordramon when you can to draw even more cards. So drawing is basically your priority, and searching not so much, because you just want to draw pieces and just really gather what you need. Once you have all this established, you just need 3 memory. Now all you need is in your hand a Dorbickmon along with 5 other sources you can potentially stack underneath it, and keep in mind they have to be different names, which is once again with the ratio wise, you don't want to be focusing too much in 4 copies and lesser 3 copies, and maybe sometimes just between 2 and 3 instead. But anyways, 3 memory is really all you need with Dorbickmon. So once again, analyze the board state, analyze the situation, where your opponent's at and everything, and see what they have based on that. So you play your Dorbickmon, Digi Crossing it by putting 5 things. So if you know DP is a very important factor, then put the Greymon. Otherwise, you want to be just stacking as many security +1s as possible. And then these are sort of the Majiramon and the Lavaguratamon is sort of when you get to be a little bit flexible, because Lavaguratamon really synergizes nicely with Dorbickmon. And that is because when you do bring out Dorbickmon, you will basically delete something that your opponent has that is 13,000 DP or less. And if you do, after paying the 3 memory, Lavaguratamon's inheritable will give you 1 memory back. Now, also keep in mind that just because you have different code Greymons, Dorbickmon once again specifically says they have to be different names. And because these both Greymons have the same name, you actually can't stack these 2 Greymons on top of each other. So keep in mind with that. That's one of the major drawbacks of this deck, but you have to think about it and be careful when you're doing so. Anyways, after you pop something, you can go ahead and swing at your opponent's security for 1, 2, 3, 4 checks, and you definitely want to suspend the hero to give it extra 2,000 DP, so it's swinging in for 14. And if your opponent has a Digimon with no sources, or if they have no Digimon with Majiramon right here, you can unsuspend your Dorbickmon. So that is basically all their security cleaned up there in 1 hit and 1 go. And if everything is clear, you can just finish the game with Dorbickmon once again swinging in. Otherwise, if you don't have Majiramon, if you just have like Jazarishmon instead here, and if you do have another body floating on the board, you can use that to finish the game right there instead. And this is where the Omnimon combo comes in sometimes, when if you don't manage to finish the game, right? So you know, sometimes you'd be at 1 because of Lavaguratamon, which is very nice. If not, it will be at 0. You pass your opponent to 4 to Digivolve your Dorbickmon into the Blitz Omni, and you keep in mind you cannot swing to finish the game with Blitz because of the Rush ruling capability. Dorbickmon doesn't gain Rush. Dorbickmon has Rush, which means the Omnimon won't gain the Rush, and it won't have the Summoning Sickness, so you have to stand it and keep it here. But otherwise, Omnimon survives, has protection anyways. You now swing in again next turn. Now you got lots of more security checks to finish off your opponent, which can be very nice. Otherwise, if you just pass your opponent to 3 memory somehow, or pass them to their turn, they pass you back to your 3 at the start, you unsuspend, your Dorbickmon can swing in once more again to, you know, clear as many security as it can, and then unsuspend by digivolving it into Omnimon to unsuspend, and then blitz for game right there as well. So really up to you. That's really the whole combo, and that's sort of like the OTK one-shot combo of how you want to be playing and establishing with Dorbickmon, which is really, really easy and super simple, but also really cool when you pull it off. That'll wrap up for the video for today. If you guys enjoyed the video and found it helpful, please give it a like. If you have any suggestions, recommendations, or questions, be sure to share it with everyone in the comments down below. Overall, the Dorbickmon deck is extremely strong. It compiles the simple effects of security +1 and extra DP gains together, which is Red's main play style. And then all you have to do is easily one-shot all your opponent's security, and you can do it super quickly. Like I mentioned, the next deck profile coming will be featuring the 4 great dragons. So once again, if you haven't done so yet, be sure to subscribe right now. Turn on that notification bell to stay tuned for even more Digimon videos and content. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. You guys have a great day, great night, wherever you are. See you in the next video. This is Avault, signing